Okay. Awesome. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen for our presentation segment tonight. Awesome. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. Okay, so I'm gonna be wrapping up tonight the series on developing the leaders around you. So last week we were talking about developing your dream team, getting the right players in the right positions, uh, finding those who are ready, willing, and able. That's a key aspect of this, is being ready, willing, and able to be developed as a leader. Look, you can have a great person with lots of skills, but if they don't want to take on the role of being a leader, then it's what you've got to offer them, what you've got to pour into them is going to fall on kind of deaf ears. So there really is kind of, when we're developing leaders, the leader in the training needs to be ready, willing, and able. And again, as we develop leaders on our teams, we exponentially multiply the effectiveness of that team. So coaching a leader dream team, we got to talk about delegation. And the D word here, delegation, is something that a lot of people struggle with. A lot of people struggle with this idea of delegating. A leader can have all of the characteristics we talked about, but if the leader will not delegate to those the leader is building and developing, you'll never develop a dream team. You've got to delegate, because delegation takes trust that the person that you are sending this task to is going to complete it. But it also relinquishes control. And this is where you come to find out if people sitting in leader positions have a micromanager tendency, where they've got to be in everything and in every detail, or if they can say, look, here's the task, go. Because if you find yourself being, well, you got to do step A, step B, step C, step D, blah, 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 and it's got to be this way, and it's got to be done by this way and this approach and this timeline, then you're not really trusting the person you're delegating to that they're capable of doing the task. And there's a couple of different reasons why those in leadership positions sometimes struggle with this part of delegation. But if we're going to develop leaders, we have to reach that level of delegation. Leaders who cannot or will not delegate end up creating a bottleneck to productivity. The person you're developing, the person you're working with, the person you're mentoring will get stuck, and they'll get into a rut, and they won't know if what they're doing is to your expectations or not. So you've got to, delegation is not an easy thing for folks to do. So we've got to get to a point where we are delegating, because it is the most powerful tool you have as a leader. Okay. It is the most powerful tool you have. Why do leaders choose not to delegate? Okay. Why do leaders choose not to delegate? There's a couple of reasons. One, they're insecure. They are not comfortable with this idea of delegation. They're not trusting enough of those that they need to give the task to that it will get done. And that leads into lack of confidence in others. Okay. Now, again, as we've talked about developing leaders, and as we've talked about growing in the next generation of leaders, you've got to give them a chance to develop confidence. And lack of ability to train others. It takes the ability to train others, to duplicate, to replicate, to build leaders. So you've got to kind of have this educator aspect of you as well, this mentor, this, even if it's one-on-one, you still need to have that ability to train leaders. Uh, Sometimes people just love the task. Look, they've always planned this event, okay? And they just love planning this event and they love having their fingers all over this event. And people have always given them accolades. You've done such a great job of building this event and doing this task. And people just love the task. They don't want to let it go. When you are in the position to begin delegating, you need to let it go. Okay. I won't sing for anybody, but you got to let it go. Habit. Maybe you have always done this task. Maybe it's just something that is just part of your daily routine. You turn on the computer, you open the email, and you've always done the task. It's just a habit, and you struggle to let it go. You've delegated it to somebody else, but you find that you get to the task 10 or 15 minutes before they do, and you've already completed it. So sometimes we got to let go of the habits. Inability to find somebody. You've tried to delegate this task before, nobody take it. So you just you're just like, you hold on to it. Okay, I can't find anybody, so I hold on to it. Inability to find somebody also is burned. You've delegated it to somebody else in the past, but they didn't do it or do a good job with it, and now you've been burned. Okay. Recently just heard of a situation where somebody has dropped the ball on several projects for a program here in the area. She dropped the ball, she didn't get the contracts out, and now somebody else has to come in. And she's like, I might as well have just done it myself to begin with. So you've got to watch about being burned, so that you in the future you're able to delegate those tasks to somebody else. Reluctance by past burns, time constraints. Look, I can get this job done and I can get it done faster than I can train you to get it done. So sometimes we have a time constraint and people are they're just tied up and it's got to be done tomorrow and I don't have time to train you. So let me just do it. And I'm the only one who can do it. Have you ever heard in your travels through your careers or organizational involvement, no one can do it as well as I can do it? When you're a leader saying that, you've got a big ego that needs to be let go of. First off, the only way you're going to train people to take up the tasks and to do the things is to let them do it. And if you're always going around going, nobody does it the way I do it or can't do it as well as I do it, if you try to delegate in the future, people are going to say no, thank you. Your expectations are too high. That's why leaders choose not to delegate. But we got to delegate. We got to move the team forward. So steps towards delegation. Start by asking them to just be a fact finder. Maybe they're the ones who are going to get the information together. Maybe they're the ones that are going to find out the details, what needs to be done. Let them be fact finders and feed into the system. This is a low level delegation task. Ask the person you're working with to make suggestions. Well, how would you do this? How would you approach this task? And involve them in those ways. Then this one takes trust on your part. So you've asked them for suggestions, and now you turn around and you go, how about you implement one of those suggestions? Okay. You got to let go of the control. You've got to let go here. It's time to see if they can take a step on their own. Empower them. And now here's even a bigger one than the last one. When you empower and give authority over to the task, you are really letting go of control. So if you're someone who needs to be involved in every step and in every part of the process, and you've got to do all the details and you got to make sure all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed, when you're willing to give over complete authority, you've got to let them do it. You've got to get your hands off the project and become truly a mentor rather than a doer. People development is a life-changing event for everyone involved. Look, if you are new to the art of delegation, and it's an art form, okay, it's a life-changing event for you, especially again, if you have been in situations where you've needed to be on top of every step in a control type of setting. For those who are controllers and planners and detail oriented, this is a life-changing event for them, because as you learn to delegate, it frees you up for new opportunities as well. For the person you're mentoring, for the person you're developing, as you delegate, you are building confidence in their ability. You are building a skill set. You are developing leadership. So it becomes a life-changing event for them. And as they have success, it solidifies that confidence. It builds that trust. It builds that empowerment. So people development, leadership development is a life-changing event for everyone involved. Value is added to the new leaders. Okay. Now, to do this, you got to set the pace. You got to model the behavior. Okay. So if you are modeling a delegation style of leadership, you've got to model what you're talking about. If you're talking about delegation, but you can't do it, the mismatch will be so blatant. Set the vision and direction for those leaders. Encouragement, affirmation, let them know that they're doing a good job. Okay. Direct and correct where necessary, but every meeting doesn't have to be direction and correction. Okay. Some of it can be affirmation and encouragement. Believe in their ability to accomplish the task. Okay. Believe in that ability. You need to be willing to try new things. Okay. You got to be willing to try new things. You got to be willing to be open to that. Personal development, you've got to be committed to personal development, commitment and growth, empowerment, opportunity, freedom, and security. Being part of something bigger, you've got to get the leaders you're working with connected to something that's bigger than they are. Commitment to the organization. As you build these leaders, okay, you're also building commitment to the organization and commitment to success, that what we do leads to success. So what next? When you're developing this dream team of leaders, what we're looking to get to is duplicate and replicate. Your newly launched leaders need to be able to repeat this process with people on their teams. And we talk about this all the time, duplicate and replicate. Okay, replicate that process, replicate that growth. So that brings me to the end of this session.